Good evening and Jai Hind, dear children. Wishing all of you once again a very happy Diwali and happy Govardhan Puja today. Well, I too had a nice break uh, during this festival, and I hope that all of you also enjoyed your Diwali vacation. Now it's time to get back and pull up our socks for the upcoming RFP examination, which is to be held on 17th of November 2021. So, today I shall be talking about a very beautiful story from the book Here Comes the Sun, which has 23 brilliant stories in it, all right? And this is meant for class 8 children. So I'll show you the beautiful painting which is there on this book as its cover page. I hope it is visible. So here comes the sun, a cornucopia of 23 brilliant stories written by our various sunbeams hailing from different branches of sunbeam schools. Okay, so today the very first story which um, I shall be reading and explaining, that is The Little Shop of Horrors. It is written by Divya Chaudhary, and I can see that Divya Chaudhary, she's from Sunbeam Varuna Women's College, Varanasi. So before I talk about her amazing story, which I was just going through a few minutes back, let me brief you out about her, the author. I was born on August 30th, 1999 in Varanasi. I'm daughter to an excellent homemaker and sister to a nerdy geologist. I'm a sucker for good non-fiction, particularly crime and biographies. The books that top my list of favorites are John Carreyrou's Bad Blood and M.K. Gandhi's The Story of My Experiments with Truth. People tell me this is why I aspire to be a lawmaker, but I'm convinced it has more to do with my fascination for good quality legal arguments. When it comes to delicacies, I do not have a sweet tooth, much to the surprise of my family. As far as movies are concerned, I can watch horror and comedy for hours, although ghosts and clowns scare me witless. I'm not much of a traveler. Indeed, I believe reading can satisfy wanderlust. You just have to know the right book. If you ever find me sitting quietly, check for earphones. I might be listening to rhythm and blues or writing something in my head, or I may have fallen asleep. Well, that's really interesting about you, Divya. All the best from my side, Divya. Looking forward to some more beautiful stories written by you. Well, yes, this is a story which I would be talking about to children from class 8 all across who are having this RFP as their part of their syllabi. Well, it is on page number 95 in this book. All right. The weather was merciless. Bolts of lightning lit up the sky, and thunder proclaimed itself as a rock star on the gray sky stage. Wow, what a beautiful way of starting the story. But yes, unfortunately, we are not having that kind of a weather. But yes, you would, come across all the sounds of various crackers which is bursting in the background. Well, it's not safe to be driving in such weather, Sawyer thought as he guided his car through the woods. So, children, please underline Sawyer, who's the first character of this story. Suddenly, his car broke down in front of an old, odd looking store. Shaking his head, Sawyer got out. Good evening, sir. I'm Victor. How may I help you? Said a man standing in the store's doorway. Watch out, this is the second character of the story, that is Victor. The board above the door read Blackwood's Emporium of Antiquities and Collectibles. Underline that. This is very important. The name of the shop. owned by Victor. Inside, the shop resembled the famous Warren's Occult Museum, only this one was more vintage and less black magic. Interesting. Okay, well, children, this reminds me of the very latest movie which I had watched, I think, day before yesterday in this Amazon Prime. The name of the movie was Dybuk, Dybuk. So the starting of this story reminds me of few scenes collected from that movie as well. So I can easily, I would say, just put pieces together. And children, while I was going through this story, I found many, many, many connections to that movie which I had watched, that is the Dibak, and with this Divya Chaudhry's story. So watch out, it's quite interesting. Well, yes, let's start from this page number 96. The creaking door and lingering smell of a mixture of old wood and old paint only added to the eeriness of the place. Can I stay here for a while, if you don't mind? I'm tired of traveling and the weather is getting stormy, said Sawyer. Of course, sir. I get very few visitors. Make yourself comfortable. I'll arrange some tea, said Victor, the shop owner, vanishing into one of the dark corners of the store. The place was full of all sort of things, supervised by oil paintings and intricately carved frames on the walls. Vintage songs played on an aging gramophone. Sawyer's attention was caught by an old English lamp. Materializing behind Sawyer like a shot, Victor asked in a businesslike tone, "We call it the old lady lamp. Shall I pack it for you?" No, no, I was merely taking a look. You have a nice collection, Sawyer said, making up for rejecting the lamp. Where did you find it, and why is it switched on? It's still bright outside. Well, that's quite a tale, said the shop owner, and began telling the story of the lamp. So now it seems the horrifying aspect of the story starts from this very point. Okay. The old English lamp belonged to an 80-year-old widow, Nora Wilson. So, Nora Wilson is the third character and a very important character in the story. It stood in the corner of her living room and never turned off at night. Switching the lamp on after sunset and changing the bulb were her two regular duties. Until she had done both, she stayed worried, uneasy. The old lady didn't have any close relatives except for her grandson Alec. So now this is, I believe, the fourth character, that is Alec, her grandson. Whose grandson? Nora Wilson's grandson. What is the relationship? Nora Wilson is the grandmother to Alec. So that means Alec is her grandson. Both grandma and grandson were very fond of each other. Alec was a free spirit and curious. So the two adjectives to describe Alec was free spirit and curious. Whenever he visited Nora, he would ask her numerous questions about lots of different things, including the lamp. Each time Nora would smile and divert his attention to something else. Everything remained the same until Alec turned 12 and decided to try a little experiment one evening. What's the worst that could happen? Grandma would scold me. I know how to tackle that, Alec thought as he looked up at the lamp and switched it off. Oh my gosh. After 5 minutes of deafening silence, he heard Nora scream and a glass of milk smash on the floor. She rushed to switch on the lamp at once, murmuring prayers under her breath, but her expression suggested it was too late. What on earth do you think you're doing? Nora yelled at Alec before slapping him hard. Do you even understand the consequences of your action? Alec stood stock still. Stock still means very, scared, very surprised and scared. Too shocked to cry. I just wanted to know. I'm sorry, Grandma. he said in a cracking voice. His eyes were full of tears which began to flow like a river. Seeing this, Nora scooped Alec into her arms and begged for forgiveness. I suppose it's time I should tell you everything you deserve to know, she mumbled, hugging a sobbing Alex. So now she's about to unveil one secret. You can say it to be a secret. So, what was it? It's a ghost light, she said, and told him the reason for keeping the lamp on. When she and her husband, Alex's grandpa, moved to the town, she had been haunted by spirits. When she told her husband, she had expected him to laugh it off, but he took it seriously. It was he who lit the lamp for the first time, and since the beacon had been burning through the night, she had not seen yet another spirit. So, this is about that particular, reason why she used to keep the lamp always on. Alec gradually stopped visiting Nora. Whether it was due to the revelation or the slap, it was hard to tell. 10 years later, soon after Nora's death, Alec inherited her property. He was her only known living relative. Once he moved into the house, he remembered all his childhood days spent there. The house had hardly changed, including the lamp in the living room. Looking at it made Alex shiver and remember the night his grandma slapped him. He tried telling many people about the lamp, but they would brush it off, calling it superstition or mere foolery. Convinced, Alec didn't bother to switch on the light. Late one night, Alec was woken up by a faint, strange noise. Oh my God, coming from the living room. At first, he ignored it, assuming it was rats running around in the old house, but the sound continued to jerk him out of his sleep. But to examine the source of the sound, he went to the living room, which was bathed in moonlight. He didn't bother turning on the light, but he was not prepared for what he saw. A long haired old woman was sitting in a corner, scribbling indecipherable writing on the wall. Instead of eyes, she had small hollow pits that reflected the moonlight. Her jaw hung loose, and the wrinkles on her face were arranged in a specific pattern. Her untidy hair covered most of her forehead. Who are you and how did you get in? Alec was terrified. She dragged herself on the floor towards him. Alec rushed to switch on the lamp. The moment the lamp was on, the woman disappeared. He never switched off the lamp again. He even changed the bulb each time it burnt out, just like his grandma had done. When he grew old and became a grandfather, his grandson started asking the same questions, but he could not bring himself to tell the story of the lamp. So you see, history repeated itself. The moment he lit the lamp again, that spirit vanished into thin air and never came back again. And then onwards, he always ensured that the lamp was always lit. Okay. And that's how it came to me, said the shop owner. By the end of the story, Sawyer had become very uneasy. He could not decide what terrified him more, the story or the storyteller. I don't think I need this, said Sawyer hesitantly. So, after listening to this story, Sawyer was feeling very perturbed. Kind of, he was little bit scared, but he could not accept whether he was scared by the story or by the way it was told by Victor. You are a savvy customer. Never mind, we have a lot of things. Here, how about this vintage rocker? There is a story about this as well, the shop owner said, dragging a wooden chair from a corner. So you see, basically, this whole shop had all antiques, and it seemed as if all, many of them had some or the other story behind it. Okay, so now the next story, that is about the old rocker. Old rocker, I assume it's kind of a rocking chair. Okay. The old rocker was brought to the store from a beautiful old mansion built in the Victorian era. The house was huge with 3 floors. It had a wooden exterior and a multifaceted roof. The furnishings complemented the house well, except for a wooden rocking chair with a curvilinear body with floral and foliated arms. For a while, the place was home to Smiths. So, Smiths seemed to be I believe, the fifth character. A family of 4, the children, Polly and Penny, were born explorers. So, Polly and Penny might be, they are the sixth and the seventh character in this whole story, The Little Shop of Horrors. Okay, they were always looking for adventure. On some days, they could be seen climbing the apple trees in the backyard. On others, they would be cycling off to newfound roads. But the thing that interested them most was the spirit that lived in the mansion. So, to me, it seems to be very spooky and kind of, a haunted house. Let's see. The host was a woman. The girls had grown to like her and even considered her a guardian angel. She would only communicate with them, and only they could see her movements. One such instance was the morning when the girls found glasses by their bedside. "You brought water for both of us, but drank it all by yourself," said Polly, puzzled. "I slept like a log," answered Penny, yawning. "Perhaps she put them here," thought Polly. She assumed the glasses had been brought up by the lady ghost of the house, worried that the children might be thirsty in the middle of the night. Among the original belongings of the house, the girls discovered the wooden rocking chair, which was kept initially in the middle of the living room. But after the house was renovated, it was moved against the wall. As the days went on, the girls grew friendlier with the spirit. Have you ever heard of human beings having friendship with spirits? Well, just heard it in maybe, in tales. But let's see what's stored ahead. Sometimes the spirit would try to get their attention on purpose, especially when they were busy with something. She would rock the chair, making a creaking sound against the wooden flooring. Sometimes she would drag the chair to the center of the room. So basically, this is how the spirit used to attract the attention of those 2 girls. When this happened, Polly would say gaily, "Stop whatever you're doing, Penny. Our attention is needed elsewhere." Years later, after the family moved out, the girls discovered a newspaper article about the mansion getting demolished. There, they found out about the first owner of the house. The Victorian mansion was owned by the Barkers. By the end of 1962, the only living member left was Calvin Barker's old widow, Jane. So, probably this Jane Barker seems to be the 8th character in the story. She lived in the huge house all by herself until a bunch of drifting thugs came along pretending to be her long distance relatives. After a week or so, the impostors killed the woman using a poisoned glass of milk. She was found resting in a chair in the center of her living room. The newspaper article left the girls in a state of awe. So now it seems as if the girls were, trying to uh, put things into pieces, as if who must have been that lady ghost, and the putting of the glass near the table, and also they were doing that. Okay. Now let's get back to Sawyer. Remember the customer, the person who had dropped in that particular, I should say, mystic antique shop. Sawyer was spooked to the core now and rushed out of the store, wiping his sweaty face. What about your car? Let me call a mechanic, the shop owner shouted, running after Sawyer. But do you think Sawyer would ever, turn back and even bother to talk to Victor? Well, I don't think so. Let's see. No, no, no. Thank you. I'll hitchhike back to town, Sawyer screamed as he ran. The shop owner returned inside and sat on the floor next to the lamp and the chair. But you didn't hear the rest of the story, he said, his lips curving into an evil grin. The lamp started flickering, and a human like silhouette appeared on the chair. Don't worry, I'll find you a home, said the shop owner. So that is the end of the story. Now it's up to your imagination to understand where that rocking chair would land up. Would you like to buy such kind of a rocking chair? Or might be that interesting lamp? Well, that is how the story ends, written by Divya Chaudhary. Now, children, it's up to you. How would you like the story to be continued? You can just think about it, and I would like you to go through this story once again and try and make a concept map, a mind mapping regarding the number of characters, the name of the characters, probably the sequence of the events, and the name of the shop, and how the story was proceeding. Okay, so here I would like to stop, and it's now totally up to you how you think this story should have been proceeded. Would you like to go for a sequel or not? Till then, happy reading, take care, thank you, and Jai Hind.